What is it that you do for work specifically related to cancer? What's your
Uh,
history?
I after I got my undergrad degree in biochemistry at the University of Iowa, I went to Northwestern University in Chicago and got a doctorate in cancer research.
Okay.
I chiefly worked with ovarian cancer metastasis as a focus point. From there, I went to the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill and worked at the Lineberg Cancer Center.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fantastic
Yeah.
place. I worked with a lot of wonderful scientists, and gosh, we just accomplished so many things. And but at my first son was born while we were in Carolina, and I started teaching a little bit of the science. I said I really like this teaching stuff, so we decided to bring the family back to Iowa to raise the kids, and I got a gig at Wartburg College, and ever since I joined them in 2004, I have taught biochemistry, organic, that sort of thing, and done cancer research. So we've published a handful of papers, and I still review grants and participate in the field as much as possible. Work with the Iowa Cancer Consortium, conversations with the cancer registry. Just cancer has always been a focus of my work, and will probably until I leave this earth.
Well, what would you say is happening? Like what? Why is cancer getting so much focus in Iowa? Like you're seeing it in headlines in major news outlets. What's happening here?
Well, if you look at the data for the nation, in a number of states, there is a decline in cancer rates. And when we talk about rates, everything's normalized to typically per 100,000, so you can compare different sized places, and their age normalized. So if you want to look at Iowa and say, oh, there's a number of older people, and that's why we have so much cancer. It's not the case. Again, it's normalized, and plus the median age in Iowa is not too far off the national average.
That's a really good point to make, because I also have wondered, like, well, are they just counting the elderly that might get cancer because they've been living for 70 years anyway? So.
Right. And one of the other things I hear is, are we just testing more in Iowa or something like this? And it's actually hard to fathom. What we've got is a number of states with a decline in cancer rates, and then Iowa is unique in that ours is increasing. In fact, depending on the cycle, it's usually we're the only one who is increasing.
And ask you a question, hopefully won't interfere with your flow too much, but when do we see that uptick start? How far back in time do we see that we're increasing?
Cancer's been an issue, especially in certain parts of Iowa, for a very long time. I mean, yeah. And I think when I look at the data, it's hard to say when it has separated from the rest of the country. But within the last 10, 15 years, you just really start seeing a decline. And then it almost looks like Iowa forgot to get the phone call.
Okay, so it's really interesting that you said 15 years, because something that David said during the interview is he said, and I might get the dates wrong here, but he said around 2011 that there was a recommendation made that Iowa should investigate the cancer connection with drinking water, and is 10 parts per million actually a safe level.
For nitrates.
Yeah, for nitrates. And then that recommendation to do the study got kicked down the road, and it still hasn't been done.
Well, it's a challenge with cancer when you start trying to do correlative linking. And the issue is cancer takes years to develop, often. It doesn't have to, but it usually does.
Sure.
And so when you are looking at a spike or a change in cancer rates, what you're really looking at is a record of what had happened previous 5, 10, 15 years.
Oh, so you're looking at something, cancer happens, you're diagnosed today, but we'd have to look 10, 15 years ago
Yeah,
sometimes.
and honestly, it's hard to pin down what that time frame is because cancer can develop at different rates. But often what we say is, yeah, you're looking at something that has taken a while to develop. And if you are if you were an investigator, that would be a challenge to look for the clues because it's not like you can do a biopsy of the tumor and say, oh, what chemicals are in there, because
Sometimes
they've left. I mean, whatever
okay.
It's not
The chemicals aren't in there.
well. What probably, first off, with cancer, it's multiple things that are often
Okay.
led to the cancer.
Sure.
And it can certainly be carcinogens. I mean, I look at it as rolling the dice. Okay, so just walking the earth, you have to roll the dice, and what you're rolling the dice for is, whether or not if there was a genetic event that caused a mutation that could lead to cancer. Okay, so you get a mutation. You roll the dice to see if it got repaired. Okay, and then you have to hope that mutation didn't impact an important gene. So you roll the dice on that. So just walking the earth, you just are exposed to insults and time and events, and you're just rolling it. But when you are chronically exposed to carcinogens, well, you can imagine that's a lot more rolling.
I never thought about this until now. But so if there's I'm using the word if there's a link between nitrates and cancer, does that mean that nitrates are considered a carcinogen?
Yeah.
I never thought.
Yeah,
For some reason, I never put that together.
When they get in their body, they can be converted to nitrosamines, and that can damage DNA. That can interact with other carcinogens, and so you have the potential for synergy, right? Where you have a cocktail of chemicals, and they're more together than they are the sum of their parts. That's the definition of synergy. So it's like you might have vinegar as a cleaning agent, right?
Sure.
You might have bleach as a cleaning agent. They're okay, but you put them together, you get chlorine gas. You have to understand, like with nitrates, the 10 parts per million is for acute effects like blue baby syndrome. Okay. It's deemed that if it's less than that number, then we'll be okay. But there are many things that we're now realizing that nitrates can, how they can harm us, including, strong correlative links with colorectal cancer and etc. So prolonged ingestion of nitrates at 6-7 parts per million can be a health problem.
So that's way below 10.
Yeah, and so the problem is that when you say, 10 parts per million is the cutoff, I think people might erroneously think that anything below that is safe. There's no amount of nitrates that are safe.
Wow. I'm just reflecting about a conversation I had with someone who wants to stay off the record. I'll just say they're a plant manager at a water treatment facility, and here in Iowa. And this person told me that, I'm just saying this for the audience who doesn't know. So in case you don't know, our water is set to the standard as 10 parts per million. I believe that's statewide, right? That's sort of the register where everyone... Yes. And do you know if that's federal?
Yes.
So every state...
It's federal. It's CPA.
But we have a particular problem with keeping it at sometimes, like in Des Moines, they got so far over 10 that they had a lot of troubles even getting it down to 10 parts per million.
That's correct.
Okay, so 10 is the standard, and that is wild that there's strong correlative links that even 6 or 7 parts per million can cause ill health effects.
That's correct.
That's bonkers.
It is, and it's frustrating.
Like, why aren't we changing it?
Well, and that's the crux of the situation, because when you look at Iowa's high cancer rates, and I think a lot of folks know we're second in the country. We're the only one with higher rates. Maybe at some point we're going to overtake Kentucky. It's terrible. And then you look at what are the causative what are the factors? Because we know that cancer is multivariable, and everything from UV light to chemicals, and as I said, time.
Right.
So you start thinking, okay, there's obesity, there's alcohol, there's processed foods, there's all these things but the truth is that's pervasive across the upper Midwest. That's pervasive throughout the nation. What makes Iowa unique? And there are two things that come in mind: radon and agrochemicals.
I was wondering about radon.
It's a problem for the state, and we have somewhere around 3/4 of residential homes that will need radon mitigation and testing.
Wow.
But it's a problem because while we offer free radon kits at through county level departments of health and of that nature, but it's still $1,400, $1,500, $1,600 to fix the radon in your home.
And
so
can you briefly touch upon what radon is and how it causes cancer?
Yeah, it comes off on the ground. It's an odorless, colorless gas, and it'll drive lung cancer chiefly.
Okay.
Maybe you'll have some upper airway pharyngeal type situations, but it's not. It's part of one of the reasons why Iowa is got high lung cancer.
Okay.
And so we would definitely want to do that. Work on we've wanted legislature to adopt a bill that would mean that new homes would have to be mitigated for radon, because it's a lot easier to do it on the front end than after the fact, and it's just been pushback after pushback.
Yeah.
And so when you look at then all these variables, the one that just increasingly stands out as high for Iowa is agrochemicals.
Agrochemicals.
And when you look at,
can you define what? That means?
Everything from the insecticides, the pesticides, the herbicides, just
is even
the whole mix, the nitrates, the whole gambit, fungicides. It's just they're laid as on the fields, either by air or by direct application, and they should be used under conditions that would presume safety, but the system is such that we don't test each one in combination of the others, so we don't have a good handle on how all the chemicals interact.
Just like you were saying, if you combine vinegar and bleach, that's something different. So there's not a lot of research what these agrochemical cocktails do.
It's hard to replicate in the lab, and there's not exactly, and they keep coming up, and they keep, they're all, the use and how they're used is so varied. It's hard to get a handle on it.
Yeah.
And then you've got increased tiling, efforts to try to save topsoil, and as a result, when you have applications, you can get pretty much a direct deposit into our waterways, our groundwater.
Yeah.
Phosphate's more of a runoff, but nitrate will get carried into the ground, and then it can move into basically the water source that we drink.
Yeah.
And what we need to understand is that, we raise in this state a heck of a lot of corn. And gosh, so probably about 60 years ago, it's coming up on 55, 60 years, we made a concerted effort to basically lift the parking brakes on growth of row crop. And part of that was to feed the foreign demand.
Right.
And as a result, we really went fence row to fence row.
So you're saying that's when we really moved into this is an industry.
This is
industrialized.
This is an industrialization of agriculture.
Yeah. Okay. So sort of out with family farming practices. Yeah.
The traditional family farm, as we've romantically almost think of it, is evaporating.
Yeah.
The So with this industrialization, also came a need to stabilize and push the corn production. So going into gasohol, which led to, of course, the ethanol plants and all that. So now we're at a situation where in the state we run on a corn, a soybean rotation, but the corn amount of acres that we're putting in corn is it's incredible, and somewhere around 55-60% of it just goes to ethanol production. And corn takes a lot more nitrate than beans, and
Oh,
it's a
wow.
heck of a situation where over application of nitrates. I would say that we have too much corn.
So if we were
And
planting other things, then it wouldn't require as much fertilizer?
well,
Or
as I've under yes, and as I've understood it, what we have is an annual crop system where we have large chunks of the year, specifically the winter months, where our fields lay barren,
yeah.
and that can, no, it does make runoff and the
Oh,
impact
right.
the ability of the fields to hold the nutrients that we place
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
much harder. So that's
Wow.
where cover crops have been suggested as being important. That's where a third crop, like a winter wheat, has been suggested as being a possible method. But there's been studies through ISU that has definitely shown that a row crop, an annual row crop field, you will release nitrogen even when you under applicate. You're still getting nitrogen released,
Hmm.
so we're getting nitrates. And so, if we don't change our method of farming, of agriculture in the state, there's no reason to suggest that the nitrate loads that we're seeing in our water will go down.
And what kind of well, actually I really wanted to ask you this question. So let's say that this is well actually no, the cup you have there that's in frame from the camera, I made that with our tap water, 10 parts per million. And so if I'm a big water drinker. I have a quart water bottle.
Yeah.
I drink 3 quarts a day
Mm-hmm.
of tap water. So what is a possible correlative scenario where it could give me some ill health effect? I guess what I'm really asking in a sloppy way is how is it that being exposed to tap water could potentially give someone cancer 20 years from now? What exactly does it, I guess, I'm sorry, this is a terribly phrased question. What do nitrates do in our body that exactly can lead to cancer? That's what I should have said.
Yeah, that's really the focus on nitrates specifically. I mentioned they can be converted to nitrosamines that are reactive, with other.
So once it enters our body, it can turn
It can
into a
turn,
thing.
yeah, and then that can like damage our DNA or our proteins or lipids
So
or something.
nitrosamines can
Mm-hmm.
impair DNA,
Mm-hmm.
and then it changes how DNA keeps writing code.
Functions and expresses,
Okay.
and we have a very great repair system. And so when we have exposure to a chemical, we even have proteins that try to kick the chemical out of our cells. We have the
Wow.
ability to fight. But
That's really
chronic
interesting.
insults is, I want to go back to the idea of rolling the dice. The longer you go, then the more you might roll sixes and
Hmm.
have a damage. So, something that happens to you genetically. That doesn't automatically mean cancer, right?
Sure.
You might need
Just like,
6 or 7
yeah.
genes to be damaged before a cell officially, if you want to use the word official, would
Yeah.
be grown into a benign mass and metastasize. So
Is it
that's
more
where the time part comes in.
is it more like just the more you're ingesting, just the more times you're rolling the dice
Hmm.
for that chronic
Yeah,
insult?
yeah.
And so, okay, so that's nitrates. Let's say that's one column, but then it sounds like there is research that's been done around nitrates, but this whole agrochemical soup that we're talking about, fertilizers, fungicides, herbicides, is there any massive study underway to see if this is giving Iowans cancer?
No,
Huh?
No.
My God. Okay.
There's no the work that we're doing right now is absolutely correlative with water and but
Wow.
we do not have any funding at a level necessary to get at the answer whether or not we are making ourselves truly sick with the chemicals that we're adding to the fields that is getting into the public. There is not an appetite for it, and that has a lot to do with the actual numbers that are associated with Iowa's economy. That big agriculture drives the state economy. And the current leadership can't imagine a scenario where that was not the case.
Wow.
And to upend that is a scary proposition, and it from an from an economic standpoint, and you know, the lobbyists are strong,
Yeah.
and there's just, like I said, there's just no appetite to support, and so what you're seeing is, instead of increased water monitoring, you're seeing money being diverted away from
Oh, that's right.
programs
I just
that
read
support
that.
water monitoring,
Yeah.
and so then you've got private organizations like the Isaac Walton Group, that are trying to raise money to, I think they need $600,000 annually to keep that water monitoring program out of the University of Iowa going. It's absolutely opposite of what you would want to see happen.
So they're reducing the safety by cutting the funding.
Well,
Because that water monitoring program gives us
it's a classic close your eyes, it's not there. And they don't have to talk about it.
Wow.
But there are, my experience is that there are a lot of upset Iowans.
Sure, there seems to be, yeah.
And there is.
I mean, the cancer thing was one of the big reasons I started this project. I was, yeah.
So there's, and understand science, it's awfully hard. First off, science doesn't prove anything. Okay, we've never proved anything. What we can do is we can take a handful of potential variables, right? And we can start knocking them down. Say, that's not it, until you're left with one. And now you haven't proven that's what the cause is. It's just that every time you try to attack it, it's still there. And that's the scientific method. So, you say, oh, you haven't proven glyphosates do this, or you haven't proven, well, just back up. When you're the only variable left, then you're it.
But it
allows. But so in a situation where you've got folks that are, we've got obesity, we've got drinking, we've got smoking, we've got eating processed foods, we've got eating processed meats that are high in nitrates, we've got then we've got the water, we've got UV exposure with lots of melanoma. We have radon. Or Iowa just sits in a situation where we've got so many variables that until we start as Iowans making healthy choices and lowering those contributions, maybe we can raise up the signal and we'll have more idea of just how bad the water is contributing to our cancer.
The thing that sort of keeps me up at night thinking about all this is, okay, so I know that the naysayers will point to, like a lobbyist for big ag will point to the things you said. Oh, it's not the stuff we're doing. It's the smoking, it's the drinking. But what drives me nuts is that they don't say, well, okay, but I accept it could also be the chemicals we're putting in the water, and that is something we can control. So let's at least knock these out of the ballpark so we can make Iowans safer.
It's the sad part of it is that as a society we should be taking care of each other. I mean that should be the unassailable goal.
Unassailable goal. I love that.
And when you have clear indication that the end game is things like money.
Yeah, yeah.
And not the health.
I feel like those are the choices: health or money.
It's infuriating.
Yeah, yeah.
It's saddening.
Yeah, definitely.
But at the same time, things won't change unless people stand up.
Yeah.
And there are things that an Iowan can do to protect themselves, right? And I'm sure they can do lifestyle changes,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they can certainly work on radon mitigation, or they can get a reverse osmosis unit for their homes so that they can get the nitrate out of their water, and PFAS, which, as far as I'm concerned, are basically our generation's asbestos. We can get that out of the water and put yourself in a position where you don't have to roll the dice as much. But see, those things like the reverse osmosis unit, maybe 400 plus installation, but then there's continual upgrade. And I mentioned the cost of radon mitigation.
Yeah.
Not everyone has that sort of money.
It'd be hard for me to spend right now. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and so you're putting it on Iowans to try to clean up what should never happen in the first place.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And so Iowans have to realize that they are in a position, unless they stand up and ask for change. They are in a negative position of chronic insults in their water, in their lives, unless they stand up. Because really, you drink the water you vote for. And unless you recognize that you have the power to make a difference through your vote, where you get legislators in there says, okay, we need to work in partnership with the agriculture industry to change how things are done, where we don't want to destroy the livelihood. We want, but we can do a better job of this. We don't have to use so much nitrogen. We have to incentivize, and Iowan farmers are getting older. I mean, I think about my mother and father. They're still farming.
Oh, wow. You come from a farming background?
Well, I married in. Oh, I did, but I'm from my side of it. I'm from Northwest Iowa. I have to go back. I got some uncles, aunts, but I go back 4 generations. But my wife's side, I married a farm girl. Yeah. And her parents still farm, but they're in the mid 70s. Yeah. And I look at them and. To have the energy to put cover crop in, to have the energy to develop the buffer strips, the edge of field work that needs to happen. It's asking a ton, and not necessarily for an economic reward either. Yeah. And that's you got to talk about that, because it's a monopoly. The seed industry is a monopoly. Monsanto, you can't keep seeds. You got to keep buying from them. The fertilizer group, there's. Oh my gosh, monopoly. Yeah. You can't. You're right to fix your tractor. Deere won't let you do it. I mean, it's stacked up against farmers in a way that forces them to do applications work on their fields that they themselves may not be comfortable with. I feel absolutely sorry for a farmer that has to do this, and then here's something from their spouse that says you're putting it. But it's their livelihood. We have to understand that if we're going to solve this problem, we have to work in partnership with them instead of linifying them.
And that's one of the reasons I wanted to interview you, especially. That was the one thing you said. I was watching some of your Facebook videos on your page, and that was what really grabbed me. You talked about everyone wants to blame the farmer. And you were just like, you have to understand the position the farmer is in. And I was like, oh, I want to interview Shawn, because there's not a lot of people that say that. And I am right there with you on that.
I think folks are really angry. Yeah. And they get, and they have a right to be angry. And then they get angry at certainly national politics.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely divisive, and it's gotten to be a challenge to fight through your anger and try to look at it from another view.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
But
But people don't realize that farmers are under pressure. Like, if
yeah.
they don't grow what they're told to grow, well, then that's their whole
Well,
income.
if I don't know how, I mean, gosh, the cost of an acre. I don't
Yeah.
know how you step into farming now, and then you've got these, so you got these big, get bigger, get out, and then you've got farms that farm cropland that is owned by industry, and some of them are foreign. I mean, you've
Mm-hmm.
got how it's there is the classic farm where you have a mixed crop system.
Mm-hmm.
You've got hogs, you've got cattle, maybe you got heck, you maybe got goat. You know, you've got it just the like what a New Yorker might think of.
Like 100-acre
Yeah,
farm
you
or
know,
something, a small
where
one. Yeah.
you know they're gonna run into Arnold's pig or something like that. That is I think I used the term romantic earlier. I think
Yeah.
that's not what we.
It's a sentimentalized view that doesn't really.
It doesn't match reality now
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we've got this industrialization of crop ground, and when you look at some of this larger scale operations, and I haven't even touched CAFOs. When you got these larger scale operations, you are making dollar and cents calls,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not necessarily that they have to drink the water that they're creating.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you've lost that responsibility, that local responsibility to your neighbor, then it's easy to keep doing what you're doing.
Two questions I want to make sure I ask you. Is it so we know that we bring parts per million in our drinking water statewide down to 10 parts per million for nitrates. In terms of the agrochemical soup, let's call it, do you know, I mean, I have no idea if this is your expertise, but do you know if our water filtration plants at municipalities, do they filter out all of that so none of that's in the cup of water we're drinking?
Right. Yeah. This has been interesting for me. The first thing we have to acknowledge is for Iowa, somewhere around 250,000 Iowans drink from rural well water.
Okay.
So they don't even go through
no treatment.
No, and so the state has surveillance support programs, right? So you could go get your well tested for nitrates, arsenic, coliform bacteria.
Yeah.
You can request PFAS, but that has to be approved. And then you might, based on the results, you might have to shock, you might have to do things. But I guess the point is there's a lot of Iowans that don't even drink municipal water.
Wow.
And then
And don't test their wells.
Yeah, that's really a mixed bag.
Yeah.
Some people are better than others, that's for sure.
Yeah.
When you look at the municipalities, it's a wide range for how much treatment the water goes through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so where I'm at in Waverly, Iowa.
Where's that roughly?
That's in northeast Iowa. We're right on the Cedar River. It goes right through our town.
Oh.
And it's
okay.
so if
is that near,
it's like north of Waterloo, Cedar Falls.
Oh, okay, got you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Cedar River and the river counties, we got some problems.
Yeah.
But just north of us is a town named Charles City, and Charles City has a water treatment plant that, you know, they raise the pH and crash out the heavy metals because we got a lot of hard water.
Okay.
They add some CO2, acidify it, and then they filter it, and eventually that does get into the, you know, you get that cleaned up water into your taps. And fluoride too. What you're seeing there is they probably do remove a decent amount of the organics
Organics.
And nitrates,
Okay.
the organics being some of the
chemicals.
the
Okay.
PFAS and the other
Okay.
chemicals that might be in there, and depending on their filtration, probably the nitrates too.
Okay.
I'm good, and so I would say, yeah, I bet their tap water is, I wouldn't say great because I don't know. I've never tested their tap water, but I'm imagining it's been treated fairly aggressively. You look at Waverly, we have 4 disparate wells that provide water for about 10 to 12,000 people.
Okay.
And those wells don't go to a centralized facility. They get paired up and then they fill up water towers that then provide the water.
Okay.
So what they have to do before the water gets to the towers and eventually to the tap is they disinfect. They disinfect with some chlorine.
Yeah.
And some bleach, and then after that they add some fluoride. That's it.
Wow.
That's it. And those wells that they're using to fill up the to get the tap water are about 150 to 220 foot depth, and they're
That's pretty shallow, isn't it?
Yeah, Silurian, Devonian aquifers that they're tapping into.
Yeah.
But those are above, those aren't confined. And so you can get a lot of water coming right into them.
Yeah. And
so we had one of the wells that tested extremely high for PFAS this last year. And that was on like a multiple watch, got to test every quarter. And that well's been running 9.5, 10.5 on parts per million on nitrates. It's just a bad well.
Wow.
The other 3 better, like 6 or 7 parts per million for nitrates. All right, so we gotta deal with well 7. We gotta get rid of it, and we will. But the point here is because we don't have a centralized water treatment facility, we can't build 4 separate treatment stations for where we do the full filtration and everything like that. You need to have a centralized location where you have one facility that can do the larger work necessary to get out all of those chemicals.
I'm thinking this must be a common scenario outside of most of the major cities then, right?
Well, Charlie, it's one of those things where each municipality might have a unique situation for how they treat their water, and the larger, I think, comment here is that they face their own obstacles.
Okay.
And so when you look at, okay, Iowa, you got to stop drinking this water. You either pay to keep the pollutants out, or you pay to take them out. And in the case of the latter, that falls predominantly to the taxpayers or to the rural well owner to get it out. Because if you have a municipality where you do have a single water source that you can treat, they have to step up their game to deal with all the nitrates and PFAS and everything else. So it's going to cost the local taxpayers money to upgrade the municipality. And so if you run into a situation where you're like, okay, well, we're going to have to force regulation. We're going to say lower the parts per million down for nitrates to 5 based on new findings. They're going to have to upgrade their facilities. Wow. Or if you just leave it at 10 and we just continue on the trend that we are, which is nitrates going up every year, then they're going to cross the Rubicon and they're going to be like, well, we're going to have to upgrade our facilities. And so, and you talk to like a Dubuque or some of the larger groups of people, they can spend tens and tens of millions of dollars to upgrade their municipal water treatment plant. And that's a big ask.
It's a prohibitive cost.
So it's a real, we go back to it, it's a real money issue for Iowans,
What kinds are we seeing new kinds of cancers in the last 15 years here in Iowa, is that part of sort of the alarm bell? Like we're seeing unusual things here that we wouldn't have expected to see?
Well, as a state, we've got lots of melanoma.
Okay.
Okay, and especially in the north.
Is melanoma only from the sun?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or
as far as we know, or...
Well, yes.
Okay.
That UV light is a major driver for melanoma.
Okay.
But you have a genetic background in melanoma, and yes, systemic load of carcinogens can contribute to melanoma, but it's chiefly UV radiation that causes that. We have breast cancer, especially in the urban centers. We've got lots of prostate cancer.
Huh.
It's high, certainly in spots in northwest Iowa, but my understanding and from what I've seen, it's certainly high in the River Valley counties as well.
Okay.
And then lung cancer. So those are pretty established. Like it's not like a specific cancer, and that's actually to the point of when I was working with someone in Butler County, which is the county next to us. They were looking at whether or not there was elevated cancers or a particular cancer type, and what they found was, you working with the Iowa Cancer Registry, over a 10-year period, they looked at 21 different cancers, and they came up with an observed, this is how many we should see of cases, based on the Iowa rate, not even national rate, Iowa rate, which we know is pretty high. And then they looked at this is what we should expect, I should say. And then they looked at what was observed. And for all 21 cases, the observed rate was higher. And what I mean is for all 21 cancers, the observed rate was higher than the expected. So when you look at having 21 different cancers, and the range was everything from uterine to testicular to lung to breast colorectal, prostate,
all of them were
lymphomas, non-Hodgkin lymphoma, all of it was higher. And when you want to, if you're an epidemiologist and you want to focus, say, if you've got a cancer cluster, like there are a bunch of teachers that have breast cancer, you can go to the school and start digging into the cause.
Right.
But when you've got just a lot of cancer, you're asking, well, what is the systemic insult? Because it's not where you can find a particular, oftentimes, like if you have a PFAS, it might cause like testicular cancer or some specific cancer acutely, where you can pick that signal up. But when you just got a whole bunch, you're asking, what is the larger insults? And that makes unraveling the answer super hard, which is why I went back to what I said about let's do some lifestyle choices. Let's take care of what we can take care of with our water and our radon, and maybe we can get at some of the answers.
So like we can do radon mitigation, we can change our lifestyles, but we can't change what's going into our water, apparently.
Not without legislative effort. And that, that's the heck of it. What pressure is it going to have to be to get the legislative branch to support making sure that we don't put as much of these agrochemical nitrates in our water? And that can come in a lot of ways, but we have, for example, these CAFOs, which are these...
What does that stand for? Is it combined agricultural?
Yeah, confined. Yeah, confined animal feeding. And these CAFOs are like a large concentration of animals where they generate copious amounts of manure and waste.
Right.
They go into
nitrates.
All manners of things, and it goes into basically a storage situation, like a lagoon or some sort of thing,
like in a fluent
and
lagoon.
then when it gets big in a pool, when it gets big enough, then they have to basically spread it out on fields, and so there's a waste management plan that they have to adhere to. But that waste management plan, I mean, there's been instances where, the Sierra Club has had to go, go to basically court to force a particular CAFO to redo their waste management plan because it was wrong. There's not a lot of enforcement of the plans and adherence. And then when you have bad actors, there's very little teeth to the fine that they have to pay. It's like the ammonia spill that we saw in the Nishnabotna River in the southwest part of the state.
Yeah, then Red
Oak.
Yeah,
Killed like 50 miles of river.
800,000 fish.
And they paid the max penalty, which was 10,000, and then you could turn it over to the Attorney's General office for additional, compensation for the state. That was minimal.
I think the full they had to pay was like 50,000 or something.
Yeah, Brenna Bird as an AG is not going to go after these offenders. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
But until you put some teeth into, the penalty.
Let me ask you about childhood cancers. Are we having more childhood cancers than other states in the nation?
That is something we're looking at.
Okay.
And anecdotally, I'll say yes, because I'm concerned about things like lymphoma in the state and colorectal cancer in the state among younger folks.
Wow.
And I think what we're going to find is that over the next 5 or 10 years, we're going to hear a ton about some specific childhood cancers. And I know that pediatric cancer is a focus point for any, bipartisan type of funding towards cancer etiology. It's certainly something that, we talked about society should take care of each other, and that hopefully we can at least we can rally around.
Yeah.
Stopping that, but I got to be clear. If the answer is we're making ourselves sick with big ag, will it change? Even if we prove it, will it change anything? If we find that we're having too many young folks get cancer, will we make the change? Because there's this economic drive in our state. And we know our economy is struggling. Our economy is one of the few in the country that is shrinking. And we have $1 billion deficit in the state. And, when you are a leader and you are scared about the budget and you are concerned with messing with what has driven the state's economy for decades and decades, you're going to be resistant to change.
It's so crazy to me that the system creates this quandary where we pit our lives versus the economy. And I mean, we do that in lots of ways, but I just feel like here in Iowa, it's so obvious that that's what's happening, that we're like, well, it's either the economy or lives. It's kind of crazy. It's where can people find you online if they are like, watch this video and they're like, I want to hear more about what Shawn has to say?
Well, one of the things that happened to me was I became. Remember we talked about anger and just upsetness and sadness about how things were.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, you either just keep being a keyboard warrior, or you actually do.
Yeah.
And I chose to do.
Yeah.
So I decided to run for the House of Reps.
Awesome.
For the state.
Yeah.
And so I did that last election cycle.
Okay.
And as a political candidate, I ran against Pat Grassley, who's the current Speaker of the House for the state. He lives 30 miles from me, and you have your district, and and I said, okay, Pat, here I come. And so I was angry. I was angry for a number of reasons. One was cancer in our water, and
that's a lot to be angry about. That's
the other was our education. I'm a school board member, and so I had a front row view of what was happening with public ed, and so I stood up and I ran, and we didn't win, but we sure did pretty well.
That's
and
great.
So I mean, I'd say I'm excited about the potential for this next election cycle, where we can, if not me, certainly throughout the state, we can get some leaders in who will be focused on recognizing that it's time to stand up for Iowa, water.
Yeah.
It's time to stand up for education and some of the things that we really feel and value that are important. And my education, I mean public education.
Yeah.
And
I love your phrase, by the way. You vote for the water you drink.
Yeah, I came across that from a friend a little bit a while back, and I was like,
that's awesome.
That really works for Iowa.
Yeah.
And so to get to your polite question, Shawn for Iowa is like Instagram and Facebook and things like that for social media. And then also online with a campaign website.
Okay.
But one of the blessings that I have is that running, win or lose, and I certainly hope I win, and having done a full campaign once, has given me the connections to do something where I've been able to go around to communities and speak about cancer and speak about the situation in Iowa.
Yeah.
And so this fall, I've probably done 8 or 10 different communities where I've gone in and had these conversations. And if it wasn't for, saying, okay, I've had it, I've got to step up, I don't think I would have been in that position to have those connections to set it up.
Yeah.
And so it's extremely important that everyone understands that they have a role to play in whatever scope they have. This state is amazing. I've been lifelong Iowan, and there's so many good things about this state. We got to stand up for it.
Yeah, yeah. How much time do we have? My phone's over there recording this. Is that about an hour?
It's I don't know when we started, but it's 8 after 12.
Oh yeah, we should wrap then, so you can see your.
Yeah,
is there
sorry,
anything
I didn't
else
want to
you'd
turn
like?
this into a political stump. But,
No, I threw that out there on purpose so people would know that you have stepped out into the public with this. Because it's one thing just to talk to your friends about it or to talk to other cancer researchers, but I think it's really interesting that you are out there talking about these things.
It's hard to do this work publicly where you're out and you're talking, because
I can imagine.
I'm a trained cancer scientist, and my comfort spot is working with cancer cells and in the cell culture room and talking shop at a conference.
Yeah.
And this has been a change for me, but an important one.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for the experience and the people that have stepped up to join me in speaking for our truth.
Let me ask you just one last question. For people at home who are like, well, after listening to this, if they have the money, they're like, okay, I do want to install some sort of system that can clean it up a little bit better. What kind of keywords should we think of? Is a reverse osmosis system a good place to start?
Yeah, it is. That will be a system that will get the vast majority of everything you want out.
Okay.
We have an RO. That's short for reverse. We have an RO system, and it's there's so many choices.
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
I'm not looking for brand names.
I wouldn't
it's okay.
want to recommend one. But I can tell you, we stepped into one for about $400, and then there's some perennial upkeep costs. You might have to change a pump out, or you might have to.
Yeah,
But
bag. You felt strongly enough that was important to you to invest in.
Yeah, when we moved in and bought our house in '04, we recognized that our kids might be in the basement, and so we did the radon mitigation and paid that cost. My regret is we didn't get the RO unit sooner.
Yeah. As the more I've been diving into this project, I've been waiting to have some extra money so I can buy a good water treatment system, and then I also want to buy one for my son and my daughter. They live in Coralville, and I've been like, okay, as soon as I have enough money, I'm going to get systems for all three of us because it's really worrisome. Yeah. Well, Shawn, thank you so much for taking time. And
well, thanks for having me, Charlie. I've enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I could ask you a ton more questions, but this has been a very riveting conversation. Sometimes I'm not exaggerating, I got goosebumps with a couple of the things we discussed. And it's one thing I didn't say is cancer is a really personal topic to me, like it probably is to everyone. I was a full-time caregiver for my mom as she died from an undiagnosed cancer. They caught it when it was way too late. It was misdiagnosed. And so I spent a year as her full-time live-in caregiver. So she died at 76 from what I would say was a fairly catchable early cancer, but they didn't catch it. And then I had a friend died recently of glioblastoma.
That is a sad one.
Yeah, and I officiated her funeral. She died from 5 months from diagnosis.
Yeah.
So it's a very personal thing for me. Yeah.
And when I mentioned going around doing these talks, and on the front end, I sometimes talk about we all have our personal experiences with cancer. I'm dealing it right now in my immediate family.
Yeah.
And statistics are so sterile to talk about.
Yeah.
Iowa's rates are this, and 21 different cancers were higher in Butler County over this 10-year window. Each one of those is a case. Each one of those is a person.
And a family connected to that person, and
An Iowan.
Yeah.
And it's almost overwhelming when you start to remember that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's empowering. And it's empowering, and so when I don't feel like I don't know that I have it in me to come give a talk, or I don't feel that I have it in me to do another experiment. I see.
Becomes the fuel to keep you going forward.
Just keep going, and that. Listen, I'm gonna be honest. I'm one of those scientists that's a little religious. I'm not like extreme or anything, but I do have a relationship, and so God gave me a gift to be a scientist, and I'm reasonably good at it, and and as a result, I'm trying to use that, and I have to say there's a reason for. Well, I'm just going to stop. I feel like I'm going to get too maudlin. You can cut all the rest of that.
It doesn't bother me.
But maybe bothers me a little bit. Okay. But I was just going to say that it is such a long road when you don't see a change. And the thing about research, actually, but change is that it can come all of a sudden.
Oh. Okay.
And so you can just feel like you're plodding, you're not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
And then
so that's a huge motivation for science.
Yeah,
then.
It's exactly. Yeah. I mean, take a look at research. What do you say when 90% of your publishable data comes 10% of the time? I mean,
it's a lot of about that.
There's a lot of experiments that just don't
So it's like
you learn every experiment gives you something, right?
Yeah.
But you learn something, but it's like.
So looking for a cure or a causation is like 99.99% research, and then finally that 0.01% is your aha, eureka.
Yeah. But I guess there's a lot of ups and downs and a lot of long nights wondering if something's going to get funded and all these other things. But to all my colleagues that are putting a grain of sand into a jar and hoping to fill it up so that we understand.
Wow.
Keep working.
That's
because
cool.
There are people out here that need help.
Yeah.
And to the caregivers in the state, we may have high cancer rates, but our 5-year window of survival is really good. And so I want to applaud them and say keep giving that care. And I know that it can be long days and things, but you are making that difference. And sorry about your mom, but some of these very cancers that we have in the state, there's early detection.
Yeah.
Get your PSA screen. If you have high density breast tissue, get an MRI done. You can get a CT for a lung. Get that growth on your skin checked. There are so many things that we can do to avoid some outcomes. So.
Yeah, a poor scenario at the end. All right, Shawn. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to end it there.